Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser on a Wednesday morning, where I literally just realized 5 seconds going into it that I did not actually stir the mug at the end, but I am the greatest dad. So albeit the sugar being on the bottom, back in action. No John this morning. He did have an emergency, so he's not with us this morning, but a lot to talk about. Obviously, you guys in the chat over here will probably be going back and forth this morning. Not a lot of like new stuff, I think, but still there's like a lot to talk about in terms of what's happening. The latest is this morning I saw Chelsea going after Hato, who I don't know is a target according to Liverpool fans. I think more than anything else. I don't think I've seen a lot online in terms of like the club being interested or at least being made official and stuff like that. But Chelsea going after him as well is one of the things I saw this morning. Otherwise, obviously, the boys are over there getting ready for the preseason, the Diaz talks and stuff like that. So a lot to get to. Sir Z is here. Good morning, sir. It's gonna be a hot one as hell, and I'm going to the city. It's going to be rough. They're talking about like over 100 degrees heat index. When there's a heat warning, you know you're going to be up for some freaking pain in the butts, especially if you're in the city walking around and doing stuff and all that kind of stuff. But let's get to this. The whole Isak thing is still ongoing. Polish prince. Yeah, that is true. That is true. We were really competing pretty good in that Interest Trophy before. Yeah, Chelsea is going after. Honestly, this has been a weird off season for us. Like it has been a Chelsea like off season, right? Like interesting a lot of people, but actually signing a lot of people, negotiating with a lot of people, a lot of changes. There is a short going around. I don't know why it's going around again because the short is from at least a month ago because this is right after we signed the first three. Probably it's right after the Beard signing is what I'm assuming, and I think it's from like a Monday morning show where I'm talking about the changes and like the concern of making too many changes, and everybody, of course, as happens with a lot of these shorts and reels, kind of like understanding it or listening to it from not ears but a different part of the body, because I think the concern is not that we're not adding really quality players, but the fact that, and now with the front line is going to be changing a lot more. If we do move Diaz and stuff, I think the biggest concern is the fact that we are making a lot of changes at once. And it goes back to what I keep talking about last year when we said, hey, our strength is the fact that we didn't make a lot of changes, consistency, and all that kind of stuff. But you can't say that on one side and then turn around and say, oh, yeah, like changing 6 out of the starting 11 going into a new season. Well, shouldn't be a big deal and stuff like that, because you can have the positive but not have the negative at the same time, which actually is an interesting. And I think that like out of the many conversations we had, um, that got the most reaction, I think, on the Monday night podcast was how many of these guys who are being signed, and clearly we're not done yet, especially if Diaz is gone. How many of them will be in the starting 11 in the first game in the Premier League? And I think over here, like we're kind of talking about do we go with the consistency of Dara is in the house. Good morning, Dara. Because Dara actually was one of the ones in the chat who did not agree with I think it was Galley who was saying there will be only like one or maybe two. I do think there will be longer, like there will be definitely more, especially now that we're probably going to be making more changes up top. I think we will see a lot of new faces in the starting 11. And I do agree with this. It is a long preseason. I mean, is it though? I mean, you got to figure they have, but we have like less than 3 weeks to the podathon, so there's basically less than 4 weeks to the season at the end of the day. Longest since Klopp's first season. And I think that's the only thing that I do like. And I think in terms of if you were going to pick a summer where you were going to make a lot of changes, it's a perfect summer to do it because there's no Euros, there's no World Cup and stuff like that. So you do have the full preseason. So in terms of that aspect, I do think it's like a best preseason to do it because, like Sir Z is saying, do have the longest time, and it gives these guys to kind of like it can give Slot to figure out like what the heck to do, because there is something to be said about the consistency, but there's also something to be said about like quality and potential and stuff like that too. So if you do have Turkez over there, and if Robertson is not up to speed, and let's face it, like when we do these preseasons and stuff like that, sometimes it's harder for the older guys to get in the rhythm. Just because you have experience doesn't mean you're in shape and rhythm and stuff like that going into the season. So you might see, I do think we might see Kirkez on the left. That's another issue, by the way, that has not been resolved. And I'm shocked that there is like absolutely zero talks about it. Is the fact that we have three left backs in that squad that traveled for the preseason game. Obviously, that's not going to be the case moving forward in the season. So I'm kind of shocked that there's not a lot more smoke coming in terms of like interest for like Robo, or like which direction it feels like, right? The way things are looking right now, because we always said it's more depending on Robertson than anything else felt, right? Like in terms of like what he wants to do. Is he okay with being a rotational piece or maybe like an eventual backup and stuff? And the way things are going, since you're not getting any rumors or anything like that from that side of things, I assume that means he does want to stay and he's okay with like fighting for the starting job and competing and stuff like that, which makes Costas obviously an unnecessary person to have in the squad as the third left back. So I don't know if it's a case of like, like when we get um hopefully another center back. Clearly, might not be Hato now unless we jump in the Hato pool at the end over here after Chelsea. But I think it will be interesting to see what they do with Costas, and when they do, what they're going to do. I think if it was going to be Robertson, I don't know why, and I don't know if you guys agree, but I feel like it would have been done by now, or we would have heard a lot more by now. I mean, I know that Atletico Madrid stuff came out earlier, um, a month and a half or so ago. I think when the first the Kerkez thing came out, but it's I'm not obviously that's died, and there's nothing else coming up, so I can see him starting there. Really, Dallas is making changes is different to having options. Yeah, I mean I get that, but I guess still when you're making changes, you're making changes. I mean, either way, I mean, it's changes. So instead of having the same squad and having that continuity, you can argue, having clearer roles and stuff like that too. I know we all want the competition, and there's something to be said about people competing for spots and all that. But there's also something to be said about having roles in a squad, clear, identified roles in a squad. A guy, for example, like Ando and stuff like that, who has a very specific, clear role in the squad, and that is pretty valuable. I mean, going to let's say Costas, for example, I give him a lot of shit because I'm not too thrilled about his game in many aspects, but he's a great dude. That's a different story. But for example, he has a very clear and identified role as the backup left back. And it's important to have certain guys like that because, yeah, we all want this competition and stuff like that. But at the same time, you have to have a unit that's working together. Initially, I think you're going to have a lot of this competing for spots thing, and I think we'll learn eventually who will be the starters, if you will, and who more like the rotational piece and stuff like that in terms of like which games they feature on. I see us going into the season with three left backs, but I mean, for the finals, like the match day squad, I don't even know. Like, yeah, because that's an extra person. I just don't see us going in there with three left backs personally. Oh, I don't see the point of it. First of all, especially for like homegrown things and stuff like that. I don't know why you would do something like that. But Ozan, good morning, sir. What's going on? Mr. Barrett is on Davis here. Long time no see, man. What's going on? So Darwin is looking happy in preseason, isn't he? I saw a video yesterday from the club, like where they're traveling. Even him moving around the suitcases was chaotic. I thought, like I like laughed to myself. He's just like pulling this one, lifting the other one, and stuff. I'm like, the guy's whole freaking um life is chaos over here. Yes, that is right. Thank you. 'Cause I always forget to say it. Yes, smash that like because it does help. Somewhere over here I have.
Like and subscribe. Smash that like button.
Yes. So as he says, go ahead and smash that like button, and it does definitely help. Like in the past, like I say, it's something that I kind of like hate doing because it kind of feels too YouTubey, if you will. But yeah, it does really help because I think you guys being here in the chat right now and commenting and liking and stuff like that helps someone else kind of suddenly see the show. I mean, I think we had somebody on Monday like who knew Dara and probably saw our show in their feed because Dara happened to be watching us live at the time, and those are like little things, and that's how we kind of like go there. That is Bickler. That is a famous one. Yes, Ozan, you're new around here. Yeah, that is on like an old school. God, if you saw the video, it's even 10 times better and than the clip itself because I think he was wearing like a tank top that day and stuff like that. It was like good humor. From one of the Monday shows. This has to be like a probably a 2-3 year old clip at least. That's when we first started YouTube, I think, and the comedy was him saying like smash that like what it was realism. Jared, yeah, he hopped on. I mean, like individuals like that who kind of like hop on because of people in the chat and all the likes and stuff like that, because suddenly this shows up in their feed because it's like, hey, a bunch of people are watching this for some stupid reason, and then they find out what that stupid reason is. So there's always that. I don't know if Darwin's hair was slowing him down. Oh God, man, I am so torn on this, and I know like we kind of went back and forth with it with Gally on Monday nights. I look, the guy is an easy guy to root for, except he had that period where it was like, get your head out of your butts, which when Slot called him out mid-season and stuff. I am not debating the guy has a lot of like good qualities, right? In terms of um physical attributes. First of all, he's a strong dude. He's really fast. He's really fast as a big dude because he's a big dude on top of that. And let's face it, he knows where to go with the ball. Like where some of his finishes where he has actually scored, he knows where to go with the ball. And some of his headers and stuff like that. Like obviously he's a good striker overall. I personally just don't think he's a very smart footballer. If that makes sense, if that helps you guys understand where I'm coming from here. I just don't think like it's a guy, and we've all seen these guys over the years where they have, and in various sports too, like who are like really good, like raw, right? And then they show themselves along others, and they kind of like stick out in terms of like being like a raw talent. It's like, dude, look at that kid. Like in basketball, he's like he jumps out of the gym and stuff. Like he's just like that talented, like physically so gifted. But I really do not think he's a very smart footballer. I mean, and that can be possibly a thing. You can't just say, and there's another thing, like whenever I said that to somebody and they were like, oh, how can they be not smart and being the okay, then why would we go out of our way and say McAllister like is a really smart footballer? He understands what's going on in the pitch. So what makes you think that there's a guy who's really smart, but then the opposite is not on the pitch at the same time? I mean, it is very possible that, I'm not saying he's like an idiot or something, but it's just like in terms of like being smart, timing runs, knowing where to go and stuff like that, where to be. I mean, you can, as a scorer, know where to be, but his timing, his runs, his pressing drives me nuts. And the fact that people think he presses well drives me even more nuts because it's just like, stop just looking at him running fast. He reminds me of guys that when the team goes south, so that the fans don't get on their ass, they just kind of like run. But you're just running, you're not pressing. Those are two whole different things. And the angles he takes drives me nuts when he's pressing, because the worst kind of pressing is bad pressing, because it puts everybody else on toast because you're going in the wrong angle, so you leave the other guy wide open. Now everybody has to rotate, and that's how teams break through presses, because of players like that, because it takes only one guy to make everybody shift around. And now if the team you're playing against is good and they can move the ball well, you just screwed your entire team over, because when you press, you left that other guy wide open that you should not have. You should have been coming to a way where you kind of like stop the pass from going to that guy. Usually, like in his case, it's from the goalie. When you're running at him, you got to make sure he's not going to the wide open guy you're coming from. But no, like he does some stuff that's just like, dude, like what do you how? Like how? But he does it. Not to mention the offside and stuff like that. So I mean, yes, exactly. The offside thing by itself. I put a lot of that into almost like being a little too overzealous, over enthusiastic, like wants to make a difference. So like gets going even before he should because he's like just wants to do that really fast kind of a deal. And but that's when it comes to being a smart, mature footballer. I know, and I think that's the thing. The maturity thing is huge. And when we were like arguing over like Mo's quote on Monday Night Podcast, for example, that was kind of like my point. Mo goes out of his way to say something like that because he knows. Um, that's the kind of stuff that like Nunez needs. He just constantly needs the arm around the shoulder and stuff. And I'll be honest, if Klopp's arm around the shoulder didn't do it, you know, Slot is not going to because he's not as much of an arm around the shoulder guy as I think Klopp was. So yeah, but it is looking more and more like I think somebody was saying in the comments about Napoli and stuff like that. I just don't know if they're going to be coming even close to what we want. And the only scenario where I think, he says, you know what, I'll go to um like the Saudi league is, you get Isak or something like that too. And then he's like, I'm never playing here. And then he stuff. Way too much time on Nunez. There's not enough time. So this is more like a fanny pack. I know about that. I know about that. You must know some stuff we don't, but we're getting 40 to 50. I mean, that seems fair though, right? I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I know it's a loss at the end of the day. And it's one of the experiments that didn't work. And it is going to happen. For God's sakes, you're not going to make transfers and every single one of them end up being successful, right? So I'm totally okay with that. This one's reasons is a bit more, I think, mind-boggling. But I think in terms of what you got out of him, over what, like 3 years now, you got some like key contributions here and there, where you can kind of like point out some games where he's made an impact. Nowhere near what he should. I get all that, but I think it's fair if you close out. I don't think it's a huge loss if you close it out with like 40, 50 after all this, because he does have a lot of potential still, and he is very young, and I really do think he will go to Syria and have like a good career over there because like I say, he has a lot of obviously like physical attributes that helps him be a good footballer, but also like he knows, like, he knows where the ball should go and stuff like that, and a lot of it could be just a change of scenery. It really could be. That's why we kept hoping it's just like one thing that's gonna trigger over like, oh, the confidence, all this and stuff, and it just did not happen. So, and you would see a game like the Newcastle game is the famous one, but you would see games where you were like, hey, it's gonna happen. This is it. This is it. This is the breakthrough moment. The dam is breaking, and then nope, dam is still there, or the dam broke and there's no water on the other side. I don't know which one you would talk about. Yes, it is a maturity. It's basically doing a little bit too much out of control just to make an impact. So you are doing things maybe you would not. I notice, especially when it comes in as a sub. I know when we spoke in the past, I remember like maybe a year and a half ago or so, um, when we talked about like who should start, who should come off the bench and stuff. That was like one of my things with like Nunez coming off the bench because I feel like that's when his immaturity shined a bit more. I know a lot of his goals have come in off the bench, like where he brings chaos, blah blah blah. But um, I always felt like he tries a little bit too much, too hard. That actually negatively impacts his game. And those yellow cards are part of it. The offside, those things are, I think, all part of that. But Mr. Bat says no more Nunez, so I do agree. Let's move on. Let's go to that Isak thing. I want to hear what you guys think because I do see still in a couple of chats over on like WhatsApp and stuff like that. There's a lot of hope still. I don't know about hope. Hope is probably not the right word. But expectation that we will still get Isak and Ekitike. I personally do not see it. Same reason I did not see Newcastle doing it. I granted we're in a different category than Newcastle, so we might, invest that much money up top and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the money things balance out the same way. And I know, bigger roles and there's going to be more movement. Obviously we do have needs up top. We're like kind of short in numbers like that, but I just don't think it's going to happen just because of the costs more than anything else. So Sida says Nunez is an athletic type of player. Actually, that's not a bad concept. I can actually kind of see that, but I don't know if even Simone would put up with his offside over there. See, Ozan says I've given up on Isak. I think so too. I think when the Ekitike thing happened, to me it was like, okay, this is what we decided to do. We went with the younger version for less, which I'm totally okay with. And then you have the extra money to do whatever you want with. We took the younger version, the mini me of Isak. For this window at least part, I do not agree with because I think it was now or never. And that's why I don't think it's happening now. Because you are not going to get him next year, even if he's dropped down to, I mean, I don't know. We're talking about Gay, for example, right? That, he went from like 70, maybe like to 50 or something like that. Well, I mean, Isak is going to go to 120 to what, 190? And what is he right now? Is he 27? Let me pull that up real quick. Oh, John, to entertain the crowd as I Google over here. 25. He's going to be 26. Well, most like 27. His birthday is September 21st. So if you want to get a gift for him, get going. September 21st is his birthday. So he will be 27 going into next season. I just don't see us spending that money then. I just don't. But see, Dara says anything is possible this window. People gave up on Wirtz, remember. The only thing that was about Wirtz, and I'll raise my hand that I was one of those people. I just did not think, because it has really not happened. That's what makes the Wirtz thing like, what? Because you rarely get somebody German out of, away from the claws of Bayern. Just does not happen. Most players, I think this is more on the player as well, like kind of going against the grain and going his way and like kind of like listen to what Slot's gonna do. As opposed to company, whatever he said he's gonna do. So I was one of those people who didn't expect that. It wasn't the money for me. It was just that I assumed he would prefer Bayern as all these German players have over the years and stuff. Man, you guys are like really convincing me this morning. The entire chat is on board with this. You guys like really find it realistic? Like, wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, hey, I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for it. Matt is in. Good morning, sir. He's saying it's like it's happening as well. I don't know. Um, we're well within our PSR parameters to buy both Isak and Rodrigo. Agreed. I do think obviously we still need a center back. And I think that's like the biggest need. We need a center back. We need at least one center back. And then the rest of the money will be spent, I think, in the front line. You do have some sales, especially if Diaz happens. I think what Matt says really is out there. I mean, if you sell, you could easily sell Diaz and Nunez and just buy Rodrigo. I did see something yesterday. I don't know how much truth there is to it because, it's silly season and it's really silly season now. Like it wasn't like 2-3 weeks ago. It was really kicking in now. But something about like PSG being interested in Rodrigo and making an offer. I just don't see why they would. Or I don't know why Rodrigo would want to go there. It's the same thing as he's going to be in the same situation he's in Real, unless then they're like looking to move Barcola or something like that, and then we'll get a cheaper version. Would you guys be interested in that, for example? Can I interest you guys in Barcola at a lower cost than Rodrigo because Rodrigo goes there? So raise that hand higher. I got regular for saying it's happening. Okay. I mean, I said it and I'll live to it. I'm not one of those guys that kind of makes excuses now. But the reason I said it was just because we have not seen it before. Like, who was the last German player who did not go to Bayern from like Dortmund or Frankfurt or like all these other teams that are almost like their like minor league system over there? So, I mean, even in Klopp era, Klopp used to feed Bayern with his stars all the time. So that was like the biggest thing. It was never the money, and I think with Isak, it's more about the money, knowing what we spent on Ekitike. I think maybe last week I wasn't saying the Isak thing might is not going to happen because of money. I just feel like we would not spend well over 200, close to 250 for the same position, same offseason. But I mean, yeah, I think Diaz is, if there's something that I'm a bit more definitive, I think it's this is happening and Diaz is moved. Unless like there's like a turn in the last second where Bayern never gives us what we want. And in return, we do like, up his wages or something like that to kind of like make him happier to stay kind of a deal. I just don't. I think that's happening, and Diaz is moving on, and he's not in the plans. And let's face it, like he was in the plans in the sense that he can play up in the middle. And you have Ikitike over there now. I don't know. If you Diaz will go for 7, he says, Matt. I do agree. I think that one is happening. That is just like too much. And when we talk about going back to the Isak thing, I feel like when Eddie Howe says, "Oh, yeah, there was so much going on, I didn't." That tells me what people are saying, like Diaz really wants to go and stuff like that. Diaz basically wants higher wages. Having won stuff, um, he wants higher wages because he's up there in age, so he wants the money on the way out, and I'm okay with that. Look, I am okay with that because it is a limited. If you only had maybe 2 or 3 more years in your career, you wouldn't like be like, "But this is better for the long run," kind of a thing, and stay at the company. You would go after the money because it is a very limited time frame in terms of like how long they can do this for. So I do understand like that he would want that, and looks like the money is there. Like Bayern is offering, and it's not like he's going to the Saudi league or he's not going to a team who's not. I mean, he's going there to win, continue winning stuff, and he's getting more money. So I feel like I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Obviously, selfishly, we would probably play for Liverpool for like $100 a week, but that's us. When because nobody else is offering us, like another 150,000 to go somewhere else. So I think it's fair, and I think he would be, and I agree with myself. We would be stupid to turn down that much money. 28 years old, yeah, I think that's kind of a given. And then you can convert that money for like somebody younger in the same category. But I don't know, like the Diaz thing concerns me more than anything else because I do feel like there were so many games. I talked about this last week. There were so many games last season, man, where I felt like Diaz is the only one creating the danger. And I know that was partially because, you know, Mo was shut down on the other side with like 2 guys or something like that, like, kind of like them overloading Mo's side, which obviously enables Diaz to have more space and less people to go at and stuff. But still, and then when he was in the middle, I mean, he was preferred to be in the middle over like Nunez, not over Jota, because like when Jota was there early in the season, he was the locked in starter. I think we had to try I think that was the Leverkusen game, right? Leverkusen game in the Champions League, and it kind of helped that he got a hat trick in his first game playing up the middle. But he was like, "Yeah, we got to try something else. This dude is not getting what we want out of the middle," kind of a deal. So, yeah, he was the captain cast. I mean, like he was doing things where you were like, yeah, that's the if something is gonna happen, it's gonna come from that side, or it's gonna come from Diaz. I like I say, I can't give you specific games because I'm an old man and my memory is not what it used to be. But I mean, I know there were at least 5, 6 games that I remember us talking on Discord and stuff during the game saying Diaz is the only threat right now. Like, where's the goal going to come from and stuff? Yeah, I think it was a good time to get that hat trick to convince Diaz to move to the middle and play up the middle too. Because let's not, for all those people kicking Diaz to the curb and saying Gakpo is a better left winger and stuff like that. You might like Gakpo on the left over Diaz. We can probably discuss that. That's another discussion. Depends on what you want and all that kind of stuff. Not that I don't have anything against Gakpo, but don't forget that the only reason Diaz is the one who slid over to the middle is because Gakpo could not and did not want to, and more like could not, I guess is why we're going to. He wanted to stay on the left and stuff like that. That's why we shifted Diaz to the middle, because the season before, when Gakpo was being shifted to the middle, you would think if I told you if I had you last season, hey, one of these left wingers is going to slide to the middle. Before that Leverkusen game, everybody would have guessed Gakpo, but because he had done it before, but not done it successfully, did not want to do it. So Diaz was willing to do it, and it did help probably getting that hat trick the first game, so that Slot can say, "See, it works," so that he can kind of continue doing it because you got to have the player be convinced in what they're doing. So clearly, Gakpo was not and did not want to, and I'm not holding it against him. I'm just saying for people who were holding Diaz's performances against him when he's playing out of position because the other guy cannot even do it. This guy is doing it maybe at a lower level than what a center forward would. But um, I don't know. See, that's the thing. I think there's a lot of noise coming from like the Isak and his managers and his entourage and stuff like that. Because when Eddie Howe says, I thought that made it worse. I would have just faked an injury or something like that. Like, like a Coutinho kind of injury, his back hurts or something like that. But I think when Eddie Howe says, "Oh yeah, I put him on there because there was like distraction, blah blah blah," I think you're kind of like saying that he wants to go. I think that's what you just told everybody by Eddie Howe saying that says, yeah, his mind is turned, and I feel like there's a little bit with Diaz with the Bayern thing too, with the contract offers and stuff like that. The head is a little bit turned. It's a lot easier to keep Diaz's head swiveled back, but than Isak, I think, because like Isak knows there's like a lot of interest in him to be in a better situation as well. Whereas Diaz has won it. Now he just wants like the money part of it. Um Diaz is super presser, not the pressing stuff. I've said this before, like so I hate to repeat it, but I'll say it again just and giggles. The only thing I do not like about Gakpo over Diaz. I shouldn't say I don't like about Gakpo because somebody's gonna flip this. It's gonna and I'm gonna get kinds of crap. But you know what you're getting with Diaz. The worst grade you're gonna probably give Diaz at a game is going to be 6, and that's out of 10 because he's going to be pressing, winning the ball back, tracking and stuff. So you're gonna be like, he wasn't good on the ball, but he did a lot of off the ball. That's kind of a given at any given game. You can't say that about Gakpo. Gakpo is going to be an 8 or a 5 or a 4 or something like that because he's either going to be on his game and really going. And there are games where you can kind of see like 5 minutes into it, we're like, that's right. We got the good Gakpo today. It's, like watch out kind of a thing. And sometimes you get this Gakpo. Maybe he's a player that you got to involve him in the game early and stuff like that too. I mean, there are players like that. You kind of got to get him involved early so they stay in the game. But that's the only thing I think Diaz has over Gakpo for me. That off the work, like the work rates, the hustle, the energy, and stuff like that is a constant. I'm not saying Gakpo never does it or anything like that, but as a constant, it's always there. You can count on it. Whereas you don't know if you're definitely gonna get it with Gakpo. At least I get that feeling that you don't know you're not gonna get it. The Marque connection think some center back works better. Yeah, we're talking about the whole Hato thing. Like I say, I don't know a lot about Hato except about like these transfer rumors, having looked into him and stuff like that. Looks like a fit, but like I say, I mean, I don't think anybody over here is saying like, "Oh, I've been watching Hato for a long time," unless they live there and follow the league closely. But I'm more than okay with the gay thing because I think it sets you up for the future, especially with the Konate ordeal. I think it sets you up for like a long time over there, and in some ways, it gets you your Van Dyke's successor. Because I'll ask you guys this: as a successor to Van Dyke, would you have Konate or Gay as the successor in terms of what Van Dyke brings? I think in terms of calmness, maturity, control, I probably would say Gay, even though they're about the same age. It's Gay like only like a year or two older than Konate, I think, right? But I do feel like it will bring that. I mean, that here's the thing though, like when I say that, I think I'm saying Gay with Konate. So it's like a lot easier to guess that. See, like we separate on this. Steven says, good morning, by the way, man. Gay. Steven, we need your sponsors, man. Hook us up with yours. sponsor from last year, by the way. I should do a shout out to the Wilmington Liverpool Supporter Club out there, by the way. They did yesterday, made it official. I think it's in our socials today as well. That they are sponsoring an hour of the 24-hour podathon. So a huge thanks to them. So now out of the supporter clubs, we have Jersey Shore, Austin, Edmonton, and now Wilmington as well. So get your supporter club involved as well. But a shout out to them. But I know Steve had like sponsors for us last year, so we definitely can need that. Kanate is streaky. He's great, but Gay is always solid. I guess here's the thing. Let me ask you guys that. Is there a concern about being a center back at Crystal Palace? Where's Kevin when you need him? Crystal Palace compared to Liverpool. I think the thing that is normally I would be concerned because sometimes you get a center back who's used to being on the defending ends throughout. And then they go to another team where like they're on the ball a lot more in terms of like building play and stuff like that. But I think his time with England and stuff eases those worries for me because he has played in a lot of games where it's going to be similar to how a home game will be for like Liverpool stuff. Normally, I would be a bit more worried. Like you see, it's well, Slabhead is a great example, I think, of a player who like thrived at the time. And what did he go for? 80 or something? He went for the more than Van Dyke to United. I mean, granted, it is United paying it, but um, it was a player who was really good on a team that was defending, but when it was like needed the high line and stuff like that, it really, really fell apart. When he went to like a team who's gonna have the ball more and who's be playing against some like low blocks at home, stuff like that. So I don't know, I am very comfortable with Gay. Like I'm not even if Gay was the signing, I'm not even like, oh, let's see if it's going to work kind of it. I feel like it's going to fit like a glove. And I think most of us would consider Gay a huge upgrade over Kwanzaa. If you're still keeping Konate. And we kind of went back and forth on this as well. That's you're not getting more than like 30, 40. You might as well keep Konate and pick your losses next season and be like, it is what it is. And especially if you're bringing Gay this season, now next off season you go after a young center back, you lose him to nothing, whatever. But you go after a young center back, and you still have Van Dijk, Gay, Gomez, and the new center back, young center back you bring, knowing what you've done this summer and in terms of like what you brought in and the ages of the players you bring over. So, I think Verge makes Kanata better. I mean, that's the thing. Verge makes anybody next to him a lot better. The only thing that I will kind of give to Konate for all the criticism he gets is he does defend Trent's side. And everybody knows how I feel about Trent's defending. And everybody suddenly agree with me the last 6 months of the season. I've been saying it for like 3 freaking years over here. But suddenly everybody agreed with me the last 6 months of the season. I mean, Konate plays basically 1.5 defender every single game. So whoever is, I've said this over the years, like I feel really sorry for the right center back on this team. They are playing 1.5 players worth of defending every single freaking game. Some of it by design, some of it not really. So yeah, what do we make? 38 minutes today. It was like 58 or something the other day. So yeah, the Trent is the new Trent. Alexander Arnold is the old guy. Murillo. Kanata stays until next. I think he stays as well. I do think he stays as well. Because I don't see the only thing I say that is I don't think Real comes in with a ton of like money and like a huge offer that's gonna be like tell us, especially now we're end of July, and I know you had Gomez, but that's all you have. If you had a Kwanzaa, maybe it'd be a different conversation. That's why I think if you get Gay in through the door, and I really thought that would happen by now. I mean, those were been like 2 weeks or so at least, right? With those talks. So I really thought that would have kind of gone across the line. Obviously, we had the tragedy with Jota because I think it was right about then. And we kind of all assumed, yeah, it's not going to happen right now. Nothing is going to happen right now, kind of a thing. But I felt like over this last week, 10 days, we would one hear a lot more about it. Like you don't even hear much about it. Like I know when the Kirkes thing happened, for example, yeah, it didn't happen. It wasn't official, but it was as good as done. And you constantly kept getting updates like almost there, almost there, almost done. Whereas like you're not getting that with Gay, which concerns me a little bit because you do not want to go into the season. I know we're getting all excited about these like attacking options and stuff like that, but you do not want to go into the season with three center backs of Van Dijk, Konate playing his last year, and Gomez, who I love, but we know his injury history. That is not a great way to enter the season. And that would be like a huge, huge, huge concern. And don't start with this, oh, we'll score more than we concede stuff because shit does not work like that. I don't know who this Yim guy is. I assume it's me. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Anybody who plays on the right, even when Gomez on the right, even when it's Kwanzaa on the right, you kind of have to, yes, you have to give him you have to kind of like adjust their grades, right? Because they are playing next to Van Dyke. But at the same time, you have to adjust their grade because they're on the other side is Trent. So whatever you're gaining them from Van Dyke, you kind of like have to take it back away for that. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna change my name to Yim. Maybe that'll get more ratings. I don't know. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, they're kind of holding the cards on this one. I don't see why they would spend 30, 40. The only thing with them is okay, now that's like, like there's like the T over here is gone. But I think, the only thing with the Real thing is too that, they are going to want to win. And if they feel like they need a center back, they might say, okay, 30, 40, let's go get it. Instead of like getting a makeshift piece that's only going to be, still going to be 30, 40. I mean, right? Like even if you go out right now, I know what Hato is going to be. He's probably going to be 30, 40, especially for Chelsea. He's probably going to be higher because they know it's like Chelsea. So why not go with Konate, like who you really want, instead of going with somebody for 30, 40 now that you're kind of like lukewarm on, and then next summer, I realize next summer you're not paying 30, 40, but you already spent the 30, 40. So why not like go for it over here? Timucin sounds less yank. I don't understand how Timucin sounds yank, but that's just me. It does apparently to people over there. Give us Rudiger. What is Rudiger like? 30, right? Has to be. I mean, it feels like he's been around forever. And I know he was like really young when he was at he is 32. I know he was like younger when he was at Chelsea and stuff like that. I don't see that one happening. Yeah. I don't know who that is. Hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Football flashback in the house. Yeah, that was a safe bet a long time ago. Now I don't know. Is he Nunez? No, 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 no. That's harsh. That's harsh on Rudiger, not Nunez. That's harsh on Rudiger to call Rudiger the Nunez at center back, I think. I mean, I don't know. I've started to watch a lot more Real only because I watch Arda Güler. So I'll turn on like, oh, Arda is playing, then I'll turn it on to see what he's doing, what the kid is doing and stuff. But no, I would love to have him as a piece. I know it would never happen because of the age and probably the and all that kind of stuff, but I would not mind them as depth. I don't know if I want him as starter. That's the difference. Um, yeah, I mean, here's the problem with that is while you're saying that, and I do agree in terms of like the names, at the same time, doesn't it bring the price of Gay up, knowing that he's not, he's the only one available. He's the only name out there now. So isn't Crystal Palace going to be like, who else you going to get? And increase his price, which kind of puts us in a bad spot. So I do worry about the whole Hato thing. When I saw it this morning, I was like, ugh, that's the first thing I thought of was like, that's going to raise Gay's price. And is that going to turn us off kind of a deal? Like, are we going to wait a season to make that happen? Cody Foss is in the house. What's going on? Yes, 20 likes. I don't know. What are we at right now? Somebody tell me where we're at right now because I can see it on my end over here. But yes, let's get to 20 likes. What the hell? I don't know if we're even close, but even if we're not close, let's get to 20 either way. He was horrendous in the Premier League for Chelsea. But that was Chelsea, to be fair. Yeah, he does. He is a little bit of a head case. At some in some ways, but yeah, Chris, I've been hearing that name a lot. By the way, I don't know if actually somebody on the Monday night podcast, um, the Swedish gentleman from like he was on like Facebook. He was actually bringing out that name, and then suddenly he must have read an article because suddenly I see it everywhere. I was like, Jesus, like his name came up, and like he's everywhere. Spurs want Gay to. Oh, I did not hear about that one. But yeah, that's why I was hoping it was across the line, man. I was really hoping it was across the line over there. So, um, okay, let me ask you guys this. Cody Falls is asking us, well, asking me, and then I'll ask you guys. I'll pass the buck and ask you guys. Arsenal is signing, what is it? Jokeres? Is that how you pronounce that? Let's go with that. See, he put a Y in front of his name. Maybe I should do the yin thing after all. Do you think he'll bang in goals? He'll bang in goals for them. I think the question more is like, is he going to take him to the next level? I think any center forward will bang in goals for them, and that's all they needed. I'm telling you, and I think, we were talking with Kazi maybe like 2-3 weeks ago. I do think that people are looking past Arsenal a bit too fast and easy at the moment. I think the main concern, maybe because of like the number of moves they're making, everybody's talking about Chelsea. We know about City, but I would not write off Arsenal, to be honest with you, because that is important that they needed. Took too long to get across the line. If I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm a little frustrated with that. But when the entire world knows that's what you need, I mean, that's the problem they run into in January, right? Because everybody knew, oh, you need a striker, huh? So obviously the prices go up. But um, is he a top 3 Premier League striker? I don't think he is, but I think if you are an average Premier League striker, I think you will become a top 5, top 8 in the Premier League because of the opportunities you're going to get and other players who will get attention away from you at Arsenal. Like, I think if he went to like a Bournemouth or somewhere like that, I don't think he's a striker that necessarily scares you. But I think in a team like Arsenal, where there's so much attention being paid to Saka, and I don't know about how Madueke will do over there. I really don't know. I mean, I know he can be a pain in the butt on the wing sometimes, but in terms of like final finishing quality and stuff like that, I don't know. I think he'll bang in goals for him. I just don't know if he's going to be like a Holland or something like that. I don't see that, but I think in terms of scoring goals. So what do we think? Like, let's put a number on it. I think he will get 10 to 15 easy over there, assuming he's a regular starter. I think he'll get 10 to 15. Because Arsenal will be back to having some games where they're winning like 4-0, 5-0, or something like that, and he gets like a hat trick and stuff. So I think he will get 10 to 15. I know I'll take your guys' guesses in the comments over, but I think Trevor says, I like Arsenal's moves and I agree they're a threat, but won't ever trust them to get the job done. Yeah, I think that's the only thing is it's a more of a fragile team and it's getting more and more fragile. They were already fragile. And I think like last season, so it would be a lot easier to break them. The beginning of the season is very interesting, that Arsenal game coming early. That's why I kind of like worry about too many changes in the lineup and stuff like that. Cause that's where I really think if they lose points early and you beat them and stuff like that, you can, bust Lego, like crack Lego head's skull open and really bust that team up very early in the game. That is a really real possibility, I think. So that's one thing definitely going against him is the fact that Arteta is in charge and they're just fragile overall, I think, because of like when I say like not only the team, like mindset wise or anything like that, I don't think Arteta's first of all mindset or demeanor is good for that squad overall. Because I think that stuff, I mean, we kind of saw with Klopp towards the end too, right? Like that stuff kind of like wears down, and he's like definitely ridiculous level in a negative aspects compared to Klopp too. Like Klopp was constantly like very energetic and in the game on the sideline and stuff like that. But this guy's like coaching them like it's like a U8 team, feels like, from the sideline. And that over time can really wear a team down, especially if the results are not there. And that's why I feel like if they start the season poorly and then you beat them at Anfield, I think that really puts them in a spiral. And you can kind of take advantage of that because it's a fan base, thanks to Arsenal fan TV probably, but it's a fan base who's ready to just be like, oh, here we go again. Like, 2 games into the season. Don't get me wrong, we have a lot of like fans who will just go nuts in a heartbeat as well, but Arsenal definitely takes it to another. Overthinker, good coach, but too emotional. Overthinker comes probably from working with Pep because sometimes Pep is an overthinker as well. I think he's a guy. I can't remember who said this, but somebody said that in the comments way back, and I thought it was a good point. I think he's trying to be too many people at the same time. It's one thing to work under different people. I mean, I always used to say, like in management, for example, in regular management as well, when you work under different managers, you don't want to be that guy, but as you work with different people, you take this from that guy, that from that guy, that from that guy, and then you put your personality, add those things in, and boom, there's your management style, right? I feel like he's a guy who's like sees that because I've had that before. Like I've had like assistants who see what I'm doing and they're like, "Oh, it works great for him." And then, yeah, but you're not me. Like we're different personalities. So what I'm doing matches with me. People accept it coming from me, but they are not going to take it from you. Have you ever had a guy like who sounds like cracks personal jokes way too early? You're like, we're not there yet. It's kind of like that in that sense. Where Arteta, I feel like tries to emulate different managers at different times instead of being himself. That's the way I see it, but never know. Um, Arteta wasn't a good player, so he's living vicariously through his players now that he's the top man as a manager. Master of music. What's going on, man? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't put a lot of stock in. I mean, look at Klopp, right? Like he wasn't a player. I mean, probably. I mean, slots either. I honestly think, I'll be honest, in some ways being a worse player makes you a better manager. And I know there's a ton of exceptions to this, don't get me wrong. But I think you see the opposite a lot more where great players don't make good managers. Because I feel like some stuff that came, okay, case in point. Let's say Thierry Henry is coaching Nunez. First of all, he would probably jump off a bridge afterwards. But it's what comes natural to you and what you felt like was your strengths and stuff like that is not coming natural to a lot of other players. That's what made you special. That stuff maybe became natural to you. You knew what needs to get done. You knew where to run. You had the feeling and stuff like that. And or you had like a ridiculous work ethic that got you there. And now like this new kids, the junior generation does not. I really do think sometimes, like the guys who had to really fight for the minutes and stuff like that are better managers because they are better at covering players' weaknesses and finding ways to cover weaknesses because they've had to do that shit for themselves throughout their career. Like I say, I know there's a ton of examples against this, but I would still argue that um, I put more stock in a manager who didn't have a great playing career over the other one, just because of that factor. Like I say, I know it's probably a long argument that we could go, and there's like a lot of like examples for both ways, but that's the sense I get. Um, I mean, if you've ever done like, I think anybody like who does, if you've done managing business and all kind of stuff, I mean, that's my field. So that's what I relate to. I'm sure this is like the similar thing in everything, but certain things just can't teach. And sometimes you take those things for granted. I feel like some of the really great players take some of those things for granted and they can't teach them because they don't even know how the hell they got it themselves. So it's kind of hard to teach that when it just kind of came to you. But that's just my take on that. So, floppy Lego heads and with game management psychology. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That guy beats himself, I think, with psychology, and I think that's like the biggest problem. So, um, this process has been going on for it's 6 years, isn't it? He has, you know what? How dare you say he only has one FA Cup? He will let you know that he also has 2 community shields. Like things like that he says. Like stuff he said at the end of last season and stuff. Like Like he almost like walks himself into these stupid things because I think his ego is kind of like ahead of him. For him to say something like that, like when he talked about like no 3 trophies, got those two and stuff like that. It's like, dude, really like read the room. It's not the time for that. But that's basically what he does. He's on a nice paycheck and his PR skills to con their club is on points. That's part of it. That is part of it, I think, revenue wise. But I don't know. You would have side is giving breaking news. I thought that was already breaking news. Unless it's see, whenever I see this though, like 70 million including add-ons, um, like I with including add-ons always scares me because if you're like, if it's 30 with can be 70 with add-ons and the add-ons are like ridiculous, like if he scores 35 goals or something like that, then yeah, I don't know. If it's 60 with some, if Bayern wins the title is 70, then yeah, go for it. So 70 million pounds. Is it pounds or is it euros? Not sure about the conversion rate. This is about to confuse the hell out of me when you especially compare offers, you can really like get. I kind of hope Arsenal keep losing, not because of rival, just because Leeds, Northside, and them. I think that's the thing, right? They probably I mean, same thing with like United channels too. I mean, I think they get probably watched more now than they did when United was a good team, just because I mean, hey, you and I watch them just for the comedy aspect over there by itself. But not I know Northside just goes Northside just loses it very easily, I have to say. Lee not as much, but yeah, they do. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like there are things that really probably get to me and get me angry a lot more, but not a loss. I mean, I rarely go apeshit in post matches or anything like that. I'm more bummed than pissed off, probably. But um, 70 million pounds is 80 million euros. See, Ozana's dealing with big money over there when you just like put it out there like that. And Saudi is confirming that it is pound. So um I missed a comments earlier that I didn't want to go to. But hey, thanks for the great chat today, guys. I really appreciate it, especially when flying solo over here. And like I said, normally John is with us. Hopefully you'll be joining us in New York too, live and like pull up a chair with us when we're doing the podathon. But found out yesterday that the guy I'm working with is talking as a United fan. Yeah, actually, yeah, we're going to start this soon. That we were gonna do it in the Premier League, but temporarily it will be shown on American Scouser. We got a couple of Premier League shows happening this season. One of them is going to be my brother and myself doing one as rival bros because he is a United fan. But he's the kind of United fan. I don't know, like, is he like that, Steven, where it's not fun anymore to like they're in the fetal position crying. So it's kind of like, it's no fun to go kick a person like that. So that's how like my brother's kind of like, I've given up already kind of a deal. So it's not even like fun making fun of him now. So they'll come out though. They'll come out if there was. I mean, if you're not familiar, actually, it was a good sport. He took it well. I mean, what is he gonna do? I guess because we were in a Liverpool pub and stuff too. But when they were visiting here with my nephew, we had the American Scouser petting zoo, if you will, in Chicago, where a bunch of us met together. Galley flew in, Bickler, Gordo was there. The Polish Prince Mateusz was there. We had Ryan actually, who's in the comments, usually in like the evening shows and stuff like that. It was kind of like a get together at the same time, and he was there, and it was the 3-0 away win earlier on in the season. Our first big win. Remember, like we hadn't beaten anybody yet at the time, but we realized afterwards we still hadn't because it was United, but that's a different story. Would be fun to witness a Fener. You will never be able to witness that, I think, because I don't know. I honestly do not know. This is something that like is very foreign to me, like literally, because I do not know families where one kid is a Fenerbahce fan and one kid is a Galatasaray fan. One of them is not gonna eat dinner. So it depends on who the dad and mom like. But I really don't know like a lot of families like that, if any. Whereas when we were talking about a lot about Everton and stuff like that, a lot of people, I mean, a lot of the live audience right in Liverpool, so they can probably test this. When we were talking about Everton, that's when they were doing their annual relegation battle. And, some of us were rooting for them to be relegated, and some were not, mostly for the good of the city and stuff like that. But I think, uh, yeah, it's a very different kind of like an ordeal over there where I don't see that happening at all with Fenerbahce and Galatasaray, where the same family has two kids rooting for the opposite. Just not going to happen. Yeah, that's another thing. Like my buddy who's like very anti-sports, who's in Washington, his daughter just got into soccer and he's a City fan. So I'm like, bro, seriously. So I'm trying to convert him slowly but surely. I think he's gonna get there. But he's like a very anti-sports guy too. So it's not even like it's not easy making a case like to a guy like that because he doesn't even know like follow anything and you can't even give examples. He's not even gonna understand if I say like the charges and stuff like that. It's gonna go over his head, so I don't fight those battles anymore. I just like go with the flow over it. So speaking of going with the flow, gonna go in this damn heat in the city of Chicago shortly. So I will be calling it a show today. Thanks a lot for all those joining us. Like I say, it does really make going solo so much easier. I really do appreciate your guys' comments in the chat. If you have not done so, please subscribe to the channel. And like I say, I always say it, but you guys cannot imagine how valuable it is to kind of like pass the word and get somebody else and say, hey, come follow this channel over here, because that's kind of like how we grow, and that's how this chat has grown over time over there. So thanks a lot as always. I do really appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody. The Bald Gang should be back tomorrow. It's not as bald anymore because actually Kazi's traveling to Liverpool. He's going to be gone for like 3 to 4 weeks, I think. But yes, thank you, and that's what we did in 1 freaking hour today, is change my name over here, because apparently it's less yank when it's spelled with a Y. But Yim signing out over here. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you guys Friday morning myself. So take care.